By the way, what's up with the fucking messaging in this culture right now? Makes me very leery. People are doing this kind of like anti-anger messaging. Like every fucking coffee shop you walk into, it feels like the modern culture is really just trying to curb your intensity. They just really want to fucking curb your intensity at every fucking glance. Like everything is live, love, laugh, namaste. In coffee shops, you got fucking cute slogans telling you to fucking relax. Every fucking imprint on like t-shirts and shit. Everything's about fucking recovery, relax, recuperate. It's almost like they just want to gut. They want to gut that fucking instinct of intensity out of you. And it's very effective. It's a very effective campaign. I'm privy to it. It doesn't work on me. But I'll tell you something. Um, the 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 response to that shit is the this culture, this culture above anything else really, really, really wants to just create vanilla characters. Okay. That is the ding on siege. Like that is the essence of what is going on. They want vanilla characters, generic. They want everybody to be very fucking generic. And that's really just what it comes down to. That's why even in the mental health thing, people really fucking lambast any type of creativity or any kind of ingenuity or innovation in general. It just gets fucking annihilated. Because when you are front running or trailblazing any kind of curiosity that's leading you into a direction that maybe nobody else has written before, maybe nobody else has expounded on this before in literature or history, and you're kind of trailblazing a path, it's frowned upon. It's frowned upon, and there's going to be a lot of misunderstanding. People will misunderstand the fuck out of you because a lot of times when you are spearheading some kind of movement, you're going to make a lot of mistakes that are not readily apprehensible to the person who's following the movement. So mistakes will be made, things get misconstrued. There's a lot of misconceptions that happen along the way. And then your job as a leader of taking responsibility for spearheading that movement is to correct that. Now, that might take a long time to correct, but it is ultimately the responsibility of the leader to correct that perception because a lot of decisions that are made by legionnaires and sentinels and infantrymen, people that are in the shadows of the leader, you know what I mean, that are acting in lockstep with whatever the agenda is, those people don't necessarily understand sometimes the decision that the person at the helm is making. But the clarity comes later on as things sort of materialize and as things happen. That's a very, very, very common pattern. And I think that halts a lot of potential leaders in their tracks because a lot of leaders also want the gratification and the encouragement and the morale of the people that they're working with. And sometimes it's very easy to have them deflated and you lose that morale and people get demoralized because they don't understand the decisions that the leader's making at the time. Because it's not supposed to make sense in that moment. That's why a new movement is being birthed. That's why it's being spawned. That's why it's called trailblazing. Because nobody's been there before. So of course the details are going to be very murky and opaque. And of course, sometimes there's going to be cataracts. You know what I mean? There's going to be cataracts. It's going to be very, very difficult to see what's happening at times, especially when you're at the tip of the spear. That's a fucking massive one. But anyway, my whole point of the original story about how everything in, coffee shops and just the culture, modern culture in general is telling you about decompressing is because I want you to understand that anger is the prerogative of aristocrats. Okay? Anger is the prerogative of aristocrats. It's reserved for the sovereign. Only sovereign men can afford to be angry. And anybody who tries to tell you not to be angry, I promise you, refuses to relinquish their own anger. They just don't want you to be angry at them. They just don't want you to be angry at them. Look, if you want a template because I believe this is the true model for emotional well-being. I want you to think and go look back at the story of Alexander when he's screaming at his enemies atop the roof of Gaza. Like that story when he was screaming at the enemies atop Gaza, that to me is the template and the model for correct emotional well-being. Go take a deep dive into that one. It is 100% a prerogative of the aristocrats. Because look, God historically in every scripture sends his mortals into fury. Only his finest mortals, by the way. Only his most only the ones that he gives laudation and blandishments to. Those mortals are granted the blessing of anger to accomplish God's mission. The Iliad makes this very clear, by the way, that the savage, passionate emotions are the ones that authenticate and validate a man's existence as truth. So I think that you don't want to quell your anger. Anger, by the way, and I would say this 100%, is the hill I'll die on, is the cleanest green source of energy on the planet. Anger is the cleanest green source energy on the planet. More structure, infrastructure, systems, cultures, dynamics, power dynamics have been erected from men harnessing their anger and applying it forward than any other emotion in totality. Combine every fucking emotion you want together. Nothing is more fucking righteous than the indignation of a man who's fucking angry and uses it correctly. So be very, very leery of any motherfucker who tells you not to be angry, because I promise you, the most dangerous people on earth are the hippies and the new age philosophers who try to brush everything off and tell you don't ever get upset, don't ever get mad. Be like water, right? The Tao Te Ching. Be like water, flow with everything they tell you. That's what they tell you. But they're wrong, because all of those guys, all those hippies that fucking pray with animals and shit, I am telling you right now for a fact, they have more anger brooding under the surface than fucking Mount Vesuvius. Those motherfuckers are one snap away from completely fucking losing it because they don't have a pressure release valve. So anybody who tells you not to be angry has a fuckload of anger beneath the surface. You can believe that. You can fucking believe that. That's why I've never jived with any of these motherfuckers, men who claim positive vibes only. What the fuck is that? So you're just you're gonna disobey that. You're gonna disregard the fact that there's a whole other half of the human animal that exists, and you're gonna tell me that you're a nature boy on top of it. You're primal. You're primal, but you're afraid to confront the savage, passionate instincts inside the animal. Makes zero fucking sense. Zero fucking sense. I was thinking about the Gregorian calendar. And how the common denominator of a loser, people who stay poor the rest of their life, is one true thing, and it's really fucking genius the way they've just all these man-made constructions are so fucking enslaving in myriad ways. But basically, what I want you to fundamentally understand is the whole idea of paying rent on the first, bills due every 30 days, that is a trap. That's meant to ensnare you, okay? It's meant to ensnare you, and it's meant to get your fucking bear paws stuck in the fucking trap. And I'll tell you why. That's not how nature works whatsoever. That's not how nature works. And what happens is, especially in a modern landscape like this, when rent is due on the first, when bills are due every 30 days, everybody wants to hack the system. So everybody just coasts. You're just going to coast because bills are due 3 weeks from now. Why the fuck would I work harder? Why would I get creative? Why would I try to innovate? Why would I try to get a side income? It's due in 30 days. Not a big deal. It's going to catch up. You're going to get a paycheck. You're going to make it. But that's not what anyone remotely successful subscribes to at all. In fact, it's literally the opposite. You know, when I was in my 20s, and I told this story before, I did an interview with Frazzle Dazzled on Twitter. He's a good dude. And one of my first interviews was with him. And I told this story. And this story somewhat put me on the map on Twitter. And I said, look, when I was in my mid 20s, I was so bored with the system. The system is so gay. It's not offering people anything. It's just offering you work enslavement. That's all it's offering. And so when I was in my mid 20s, I was so existentially bored and tormented thinking about having to work a job that I couldn't stand that I had to put the pressure on myself. I had to play mind games with myself in order to be entertained. Now, a lot of very, very, very successful people play mind games with themselves because culture is so gay. You do have to, like I've always said, you do have to create your own gauntlets. You have to create your own rites of passage. You have to implement difficulty settings. Like you have to spearhead this stuff because society's not going to give it to you anymore. Society is designed to make your life easier. And there's so much nuance to this. I don't ever want you to conflate the word easy with better. Easy does not necessarily mean better. Just because something makes your life easier does not mean for one fucking second that it's made your life better. Naval is the master of this. Naval has a bunch of different tweets and philosophies and little one-liners. Yeah, they're hard cutting. They definitely punch hard, but a lot of his stuff is about making your life easier. And I don't equate easier to mean better at all, especially not as a man. So what I did in my mid 20s is, and I told this story, is I decided, wait a minute, if I go check into a fucking luxury hotel, then rent's due every day, right? It doesn't matter if I'm broke. That's irrelevant. It doesn't matter what my financial status is. It doesn't matter what my station in life is. If I live in a hotel, rent is due every day. If I don't show up tomorrow and present cash to the front desk by 3 p.m., I'm kicked out on the fucking street. But a loser doesn't think like this. So I gathered up 3 days of a hotel room. I gave myself a 3-day head start. I said, I'm going to check myself in this fucking hotel room, and I am not leaving this hotel room until I have amassed a worthy amount of bread. I don't give a fuck what it takes because I have to perform every day now. I have to eat what I kill. I have to make a sale. I have to make a sale. I was doing drones. I was doing watches at the time, luxury watches. I have to sell today because if I don't sell, I'm kicked out. I'm homeless. And I'm not taking the easy way out. I'm not going to my fucking seedy little apartment where rent's due every 30 days. It's too easy. It's too easy. Men don't do jack shit when things are fucking easy. They don't. Everybody's a biohacker. You know, biohacking is such a gay fucking word because it's innate to the human organism. Everyone's a fucking biohacker. Everyone's looking for fucking shortcuts for equilibrium. Everybody's naturally gonna fucking do that. So if you give a man a fucking inch, he'll take a mile. 30 days is fucking bullshit. That's way too much time. That's why nobody accomplishes anything. So I fucking said to myself, look, I'm in my mid 20s. I'm sharp. I'm fucking brusque. I got all this fucking energy. I need to fucking ramp this up. I need to throw a lot more pressure on my shoulders so I can fucking grow from this and turn myself into a fucking behemoth. And that's what I did. I checked myself into the hotel room, and I cannot tell you, knowing for a fact the next day I had to get money deposited at the front desk, turned me into a fucking monster. I had to make sales. I didn't have a choice. I needed it more than you on the phone. You were on the other end of the phone telling me no, but I needed you to say yes more than you needed to say no. Who do you think wins that equation? Who wins the equation in sales when you want to say no, but I need you to say yes more than you have to say no? Who wins? Tug of war, right? Tug of war. Who wins that fucking war? I do. I do every time. So I would get up in the morning and I would be frenetic. I would be completely out of my mind frenetic. I have to make a sale today. I got to recruit other motherfuckers. I got to keep my guys sharp. I got to fucking hire a motherfucker. I got to stay on top of his ass. I got to whip these horses. I got to get these horses in the stable. Now I got to race these horses. All sorts of fucking crazy shit. And you speed up the fucking time frame. And then all of a sudden, and look, this is not going to work for 90% of the world. Okay. A lot of you are going to live vicariously through this story, but it's not, 90% fall flat and are probably booted by the end of the week. But for the truly dedicated and committed, and frankly, sick and twisted, because like I've always told you, you do have to be a bit of a sicko in order to make it in this life. These mind games that you can play with yourself can 100% bend reality and time. Now I'm warping time. There's no 30 days means nothing to me anymore. It's on a day-to-day basis. And what happens is because I was living on a day-to-day basis, I was also free. There was an emancipation and a liberation in that style of living because I knew I could lay it all on the line every day. You know what I mean? I'm waking up, I'm feeling the entire pantheon of emotions. I'm living the emotions that would ordinarily take an entire life cycle to feel. I'm going through all of them, the full gradient, the full spectrum on a daily fucking basis. I'm going from despair to sadness to melancholy to felicity to fucking absolute fucking joy to being petrified. I'm going through the entire pantheon of emotions on a daily basis. There's nothing to hold back anymore. I'm responsible for myself. No one's bailing me out. I gotta make a fucking sale. I'm a young guy. I can fucking accomplish this. Long story short, I ended up living there for 6 months without leaving. And by the end of the 6 months, I amassed a fortune where it was too easy. Now it was too easy to live in the hotel. Now it was the 5 star. I hacked that game. It was too easy. I beat the game. I beat the game. Just like a fucking solver. Just like how every game eventually gets beat, right? Poker's dead. The margins have been squeezed in poker. Poker's done. The solvers, the math guys figured it out. That game's been hacked. They now know all the fucking correct moves. There literally is a textbook correct move for every fucking situation that can arise in poker now. So the margins are squeezed. There's no money in it. Yeah, a few of the top guys are still killing here and there, of course. But the common guy can't walk into a poker table anymore and play like it's the fucking gold rush. That frontier is done. Dunzo. Banished. Because every game gets solved. Chess eventually be like that. AI is eventually going to solve chess. It's going to be boring. No one's going to give a fuck about chess anymore. Games are meant to be broken. The games are meant to collapse upon themselves. And that's why I'm telling you, you have to be the author of your own game. I created my own game. I beat it. It was too fucking easy after a while. Then I had to move on to a greater challenge because I had too much money. I was sitting in the hotel. I could have prepaid a year after a while. I'm selling watches. I got a big fucking sales team. These guys are selling. We're all selling. We're all hustling, bustling, stacking money. I beat the fucking game. Then you have to impose and you have to levy a new game upon yourself in order to get that challenge and get the experience. Because life's not going to give it to you. Life's not going to give it to you. Life will give you a fucking, what do you call that gay thing? A fucking soul cycle? Or fucking Peloton? Like, that's the type of shit society's offering you. You can fucking bike ride stationary in your fucking living room. Like, that's a lame game. The society's not going to offer you these structures. You have to levy them on yourself if you truly want to get to the next level. I'm telling you, men do not change unless they have to. It's never going to happen until the floor is dropped out from underneath you and you genuinely have to perform and fight for yourself and stand up on your own 2 feet as a man. You're not going to fucking change a fucking thing because you have to understand we're wired for homeostasis. The organism biologically is wired to do as little as possible. But then you don't create a giant. You know what I mean? You don't get a Saddam Hussein. You don't get a fucking Donald Trump. You don't get any of these figures unless you disobey homeostasis and try to stay there for as long as you can. That's the key. Look, I'll tell you something. Stress, I'll tell you one of the biggest lies that I've ever fucking heard in society is that stress kills. They say stress kills. That's a total fucking fabrication. I have never seen in my entire fucking life, I've never seen one example of a man who was in charge of his own stress, meaning he imposed it upon himself, that aged anything short of beautifully. I mean, the most stressed out guys that have tyrannical pressure on their shoulders every day always fucking look amazing. They fucking look incredible. Their skin's always glistening. They always got a dense head of hair. They're fucking always fucking filled to the brim with fucking energy and salubrity. And then you kind of reverse it and you're like, wait a minute. Look at the reality of the situation. Look at all the lazy fat fucks that don't do anything and have no stress. They age horribly. They age like fucking spoiled milk. They look fucking terrible. They look like rat fetuses. They look fucking awful. There's no doubt in my mind that stress is the fountain of youth for men. It has to be. But here's the nuance. Here's the nuance. As long as the stress is not imposed by somebody else, meaning you are not a slave to somebody else's structures. I do think that stress is chronic as opposed to the acute stress of running it yourself. If you are a man who does love the heroic mission and you do want to levy the stress upon yourself, meaning you're at liberty, you are freely choosing to put yourself through the stress, you age like a fucking boss. Many such examples. Many such, even people who don't even have a good diet. Like Tate doesn't even have a good diet, but Tate's my age. Me and him were born in the same year. Dude's fucking aged wonderfully, looks healthy, but he's lived an extremely fucking stressful life. He's had a lot of fun. I've lived an extremely stressful life. I've been under chronic stress for like 17 years to the point where I don't even know how to relax. I don't want to relax. I have zero desire for peace and relaxation in my life. Zero. I don't give a fuck. I've been under chronic fucking stress, but I've aged extremely fucking well. Like my vitals, my fucking vital signs and shit, my aura, it's all correct. It's all correct because I'm living in harmony with my true nature. And that's what I want to tell you. So it's funny. People are like, well, Brute, what about your aorta? Don't you think your aorta is gonna give out? Fucking aorta is gonna give out. The fuck are you talking about? If that was the case, I would have been dead fucking 10 years ago. Instead, my vitals are just getting better. They're just fucking getting better. Yeah, my fucking temples are grizzled. I got fucking gray hair. I've been graying since I was 19. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. What kind of man are you trying to fucking dye your hair? I said this on the last spaces. Like that whole rugged individuality that you guys picked up from Michael Mason Porfirio. You're the guy. You guys are the same motherfuckers who are fucking spray tanning and fucking getting veneers and fucking trying to use facial toners and cover up all your blemishes and shit. Come on, brothers. You're a fucking man. Your hardware is meant to be driven really rough. You know what I mean? It's meant to go off-roading. You ain't driving a fucking Maybach. You ain't driving a couch on wheels. You're a fucking man. You're meant to get fucking some battle scars, some fucking wrinkles, some crow's feet fucking jettisoning out of your eyes. That's baked into the equation. And I do think that archetype is gonna come roaring back, by the way, heavy. These idiots who are fucking these older men who are obsessed with trying to look 20 years younger, they're totally paving the way for the youth to come rushing back in with that old fucking rugged look, like fucking Tom Selleck from like Magnum PI. Like none of those motherfuckers even lifted weights. Like all those old male sex symbols and shit that women used to fucking fawn over. Those dudes like literally didn't even touch a weight and shit. They were just like lean. They maybe were a little bit barrel chested, but and they were rugged as fuck. They're all fucking wrinkled and shit. Go look at fucking Clint Eastwood. Go look at fucking John Wayne. Like that's the classic fucking like masculine archetype. And we've strayed very far from that shit, which is gay as fuck, by the way. Super fucking gay. It all goes back to the confidence of just rocking what you got. You can't beat that shit, fellas. You can't beat that shit. You cannot. You know, I had a horrible, I was telling you guys last year, I had a horrible hives outbreak. I had an allergic reaction to raw dairy, and I had a horrific case of hives. I looked like a leper. I had fucking hives from head to toe. Head to toe. The most brutal, atrocious looking welts you've ever seen. I looked like a fucking alien from head to toe. Okay? I was still going to fucking public pools at hotels and shit. I didn't give a fuck. Taking my shirt off, fucking walking around, rocking it. Rocking it. It's a fucking accessory. It's an accessory. I would never, ever, ever try to hide an ailment or fucking like have that debase my character or fucking minimize me or micro miniaturize me in any way, shape, or form. I rocked it. I rocked it. And I was with my chick at the time. I was fucking her every day. with literal head to toe hives. I didn't give a fuck. And in turn, she didn't give a fuck. And in turn, the public doesn't give a fuck. See how that works? See how that works? Everything's fucking confidence. Everything's about rocking with what you got. Everything is. I also don't think it's possible, by the way, to transform into a great figure unless you have beaten back some kind of severe illness or ailment. And when it comes to health in particular, I only trust, you know how in the money game you don't trust broke people? You only trust people who've made bread, right? You take money advice from people who've made money. The health game is the opposite. I only trust motherfuckers who have been deathly sick and ill and cured it and came roaring back and beat that shit back and overcame it and put it in remission and fucking squashed it. Like, that's the motherfucker I want the health advice from. Not these fucking G.I. Joe males stuck in the plastic box who just eat fucking steak and eggs all day and fucking tan their nuts and tell you that everything's fucking peachy. I don't trust that shit whatsoever. You know why? Because the reality of the situation is this. If truly eating steak and going for a 10-minute in the walk in the sun, like if eating steak and eggs and getting sunshine is actually solving your problems, you never had any real problems, my friend. You were kidding yourself. You were kidding yourself. How the fuck does eating steak and eggs and getting 10 minutes of sunshine a day and tanning your nuts actually solve real problems, like in business and shit? How does that work? Like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? It's fucking insane. That's level one thinking. Yeah, I understand it might reorient your fucking mind frame a little bit. But if like literally tiptoeing through the fucking daisies and doing affirmations and doing these little rituals and shit and eating steak is solving your problems, then all your problems were in your head. You don't know what real problems are, my friend. You don't know what real problems are, my friend, because, you know, a lot of problems that are plaguing society are being tackled through Sprite, Diet Coke, and Mountain Dew. There's motherfuckers that are jackhammering problems down to the fucking core that are drinking Mountain Dew right now. Their diet's way more fucked up than yours, but they've also extinguished 100 forest fires before noon, and you're still figuring out how to start your first forest fire. You know what I mean? So the level one thinking on Twitter, I do have a strong suspicion that's going to die very soon. All these health accounts dedicated. By the way, there's just something very feminine about being a dedicated health account. Like, as a man, I'm just, I don't know. I don't jive with the healer shit at all, like whatsoever. I think healing is a woman's job for sure. They're the best at it. So I just think that, like, if you're a dedicated like health and wellness account, it's a little fucking off-putting and disconcerting as a man. There's just something going on there. Some sort of like stunted growth. It's obviously a part of the equation, but I mean, go back and look at all the fucking guys that have their legacy cemented and immortalized. You know, all of them, every single one of them has the common denominator. They beat an illness, some illness that they thought what they was going to kill them, whether it was dysentery, dyspepsia, black plague, whatever the fuck it was. Every man has been brought into their knees with a serious illness, and then overcoming that illness is where they drew a lot of their inspiration from. Now, obviously, because there's, you know, some IQ differential in this space, I'm not telling you obviously to go seek out a fucking intentional illness. But what I am telling you is that if you are living at the brink of your capacity, oftentimes part of the rite of passages is you will get sick in some way. Some sort of illness will overtake you if you're living at the edge of your capacity. It just happens. It just happens. You know, inflammation is a motherfucker because I'm a very experimental guy. I'm very Frankensteinian in that way. I am so fucking experimental. I love experimentation, especially hardcore shit. So I told you, I had been on a kick of drinking organic, natural, biodynamic wine for like 3.5, 4 months, right? That fucking substance, as good as it is in the sense that you don't have the afterglow, you don't have the after effects of the fucking haze. You don't wake up in the hazy malaise. Doesn't happen. You don't get hungover on the organic natural wine shit. You just don't. I've tried. I've fucking drank 4 bottles in one day. Wake up the next morning ready to fucking rock. Conventional wine, that doesn't happen. But what happened to me is that I was training really fucking hard on the Olympic lifts while I was like semi drunk because I just wanted to fucking see what my capability was. And I'm not kidding. In the last 3 months, this has never happened to me in my life until I started drinking alcohol. I tore my forearm cleaning 310 pounds. Literally tore my fucking forearm. Heard it snap. The tendon rolled up into my elbow. Missed the lift. Had to drop it. Came back the next day trying to do contralateral work on the other arm. Tore my left lat. Rolled my ankle running sprints a week later. And then when I fucking tore my forearm, the way the bar dropped, I had to go to a fucking physio to get an x-ray. I actually fucking had a hairline fracture on my wrist. So I had a hairline fracture on my wrist, torn forearm, torn lat, rolled ankle, all within like 3 weeks of drinking heavy. Because inflammation, I'm telling you, all injuries are sourced in inflammation, systemic. I'm 100% positive that every biological organism is the same to that degree. I want to say every fucking intensely sustained injury, besides like a freak accident or some incredible like collision, is 100% the body detaching itself because of inflammation. Because that's never fucking happened in my entire life. Now here's the other thing. We talk about mental athleticism and mental agility. I refused to take any of the doctor's advice. I don't rest. When I'm hurt, I refuse to rest. I believe movement is medicine. I've always proven this to myself. I have a Wolverine-like rapid recharge capability, just I think because of my mindset. I'm able to get back in the gym when I'm hurt. I work around it. I think a huge part of being a man is learning how to work around injuries, physical and emotional. You have to still show up. There's always things you can do. Now, an injury is said to be healed when the injured side is stronger than the contralateral side. Many life lessons in there. That is a fucking metaphor for life. An injury is said to be healed when the injured side is stronger than the contralateral side. Now think about a broken heart. Think about a broken mind. Think about it from a more pataphysical perspective. It's the fucking truth, right? So moving through it, getting back in the gym, training legs, doing farmers carries with the other side actually helped the contralateral side heal faster, or the side that was injured. And that's been true to my experience from day fucking one.